part 3 of hymn playing. This week I want to focus on the left hand. Okay, there's a lot of things that you can do with the left hand to make the sound more full. And that is the goal that you're going for as a church pianist. You want the sound to be full, obviously. So the song that I just did, Standing on the Promises, there's a lot of different things you can do. Now remember, you want to keep your 3 basic chords in mind, what I said in the first lesson, your first chord, your fifth chord, your fourth chord. And you want to kind of follow the bass line as you're doing this. Now, Standing on the Promises, I follow this bass line to kind of give me the ideas of what the chords are going to be. The very, very bottom note of it. So you can do that, follow the bass line as you're playing. Now, a lot of things I like to do with the left hand is I like to connect the different chords. So like say you're on a B flat chord and you see that you have an E flat chord coming up, you can oftentimes walk up the notes. What I'm saying is you're going to be starting off on the B flat chord in the left hand. So I'll show you. I'll try to slow this down so you can see. You can walk it up like that to the E flat. So a lot of those you need to look throughout the song as you're doing the chords, you're studying the chords, you're noticing the chords. Notice for areas where you can walk the chord up in the left hand. That's going to make it sound a lot better. Another thing I do with the left hand is, and I just noticed the other day that I did this. I didn't even really notice I was doing this. I octave the main notes of the chord. So this is a B flat chord. So instead of playing like this, I octave it on the B flat and I kind of add a filler note in the middle as I'm playing. So, and then walk it up, same thing, E flat. Walk it up. Makes it a lot more full sounding. Obviously, the way it's written is you're just playing this. Not very nice. You know, those, like I said, those notes are there. That's just the bass, tenor, alto, and soprano. You don't want to just play those 4 notes. You want to make it sound more full. So that's where octaving, those chords come in, and then adding the fill in with this. Another thing that you can do is kind of what I went over the first lesson. You can find that chord and you can do back and forth motions. So it's hard for me to do that a lot because that is the most basic thing that you can start out with, but then you can move on from that. So I have to actually, when I'm doing that way, I have to think, okay, down, low, low, high, low, high. I have to think about it as I'm doing it because I'm used to, you know, expanding and going over the keyboard more. But when you're first starting out, that's a really good practice to get into, is just octaving it. So like B flat chord, low, B flat chord, high, B flat chord, low, B flat chord, high. Another thing you can do with the left hand is obviously you want it to sound full. So the walking the chords is the main thing that I would do. Now, when you have a slower song, you can do broken chords instead of blocked chords. Blocked chords are where you play it, you know, all together like this. A broken chord is you play each note individually. So here's a wonderful piece. Okay, we're going to take this song. We're going to do some broken chords with the left hand. Also doing the arpeggios up in the right hand, which we'll get into arpeggios more next week. But the broken chords is something that's really nice on slow songs in the left hand. So what I'm doing is, once again, I'm looking at that bass note. That bass note is going to tell you a lot of what chord it is. I'm going off my 3 main chords, and I'm just rolling it up. Okay, so like it starts off on a G. Then a C, back to G, A, D, walking both hands up, C, D, G, and then of course the chorus is really nice. C, G, C, and obviously look at the style that you're doing. For the left hand in this one, I would do a lot of the broken chords because it's a very nice, slow song. Same with like In the Garden, 'Tis So Sweet to Trust in Jesus, songs like that. But let's say that you have a song that's faster. Okay, so let's do like Stand Up for Jesus is one of my favorite ones because you can do a lot of runs in the left hand connecting all those chords. So I really, really like Stand Up for Jesus. It's fun to play. Same with And Can It Be, songs like that. So let me find Stand Up for Jesus. Let me see if this is the right one. There's a couple different versions. Nope, that's not the right one, but here we go. Okay, so this one, Stand Up for Jesus. You can do a lot of the different runs in the left hand. So did you see that? There's a lot of different runs going on. Also, another thing is look for your dotted half notes. There's one on the cross, so you can do a lot of different things with the left hand with that. You can do runs up. I usually start on the note, go up one, and go down like that. So let me do it slower. Here's a run. See, all those you can connect. Here's my dotted half note. Anytime you have a dotted half note, take advantage of that and fill it in. You don't want dead space. You don't want it to be like just sitting there. You want to do something with it. Okay? So then keep going. Runs add so much. They add so much. It sounds so much better just adding those fillers in there than letting it just sit. And a lot of the reason that you can add those fillers isn't because there's a lot of dotted notes. So like on Stand Up, up is a dotted note. So that's where I add that extra note. Half note. Notes, you can add something. I was looking at my phone when that started going through and I had a message pop up. So I was looking at the message and reading as I was doing it. So I had a little mess up in there. That's another thing. As the church pianist, you're going to mess up sometimes. If you do mess up, just keep going, okay? Because you can't make up that lost note. So let's say, I messed up here. If you mess up, you can't sit there and, try to get back to where you were. So let's say you miss a note, you need to just hop right back into the next note, the one that the song leader's on. You have no chance for redos. You just got to keep going, okay? So let's say I mess up. going, you got to keep going with it. You can't go back and try to fix it. You just keep going. That's one of the things. Even the best pianist in the world is going to mess up. The key is to just keep going and don't let it ruin the rest of the song. You've got to just get back on the timing. Like I said before, you are not there to lead the congregation. The congregation is supposed to be following the song leader, and so are you. So if you mess up, you've got to be right back with the song leader on whatever note he's singing next. And we're all going to mess up. So that's another tip. But yes, so that's what I would do. Look for those areas where you can do the runs in the left hand. Look for the slower songs that you can make really pretty, and you can, add in the broken chords, do stuff with like that. Obviously, this is kind of how I do it. I'm going to talk about this in a later episode too, but I try to do every verse differently. So if I do something, I focus primarily on the left hand in one verse. I'll focus primarily on the right hand in another verse, and I'll just try to change it up. So one verse in a song, I might do a lot of runs, different things in the left hand. The next verse, I might just kind of chord the left hand like I was showing you with the note in between, and do a lot more in the right hand with maybe arpeggios and adding things like that to it. But, each verse I try to do differently. So this week, like I said, I focus primarily on the left hand. Next week, I'm going to focus primarily on the right hand. So I hope those tips help you. The best thing that you can do is just practice these, practice till you get perfect at it. And then even then practice some more. I'm always finding out new things. I'm always trying new things. I'm always trying to stretch and grow and not just stay the same. So you as a pianist, that's what you need to do too. Try to stretch, grow, don't stay the same. And good luck with your pianist adventures. So join me next week with episode 4 of Hymn Playing.